Okay, so in the last video we talked about the degree of a term. So say you had something like 3x to the fifth. The degree here for that term is 5. Okay, or it's a fifth degree. You can call it a polynomial. It's just one term, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, now we also have non-zero constants, like we had -7. That would be a non-zero, it's not zero, and it is a constant, right? There's no variable in it. Well, the degree of that is 0, so degree 0. So -7 is considered a polynomial, but the degree is 0. And it's not a very exciting polynomial because it doesn't have a variable, it's just a -7, but it falls under the definition. Now, why is that? Well, if you had -7, you could write that times 1, but isn't x to the 0 just 1? So if you had a polynomial in the variable x, which a lot of times they do have the variable x, they don't have to, but a lot of times they do, you could replace that 1 with x to the 0. So it's -7 times x to the 0. Well, the degree then, you can see, is going to be 0. So degree, sometimes I just do DEG, is 0. Okay, a lot of times they want us to simplify. So when we have something like 7x cubed plus 2x cubed, those are considered like terms because they're both x cubed terms, and we can add them together. So what's 7 and 2? 9x cubed. And we're going to do more of that in a little bit. Okay, when we simplify, we want our answer to be in standard form. General rule. Okay, now a monomial means one term. So an example of a monomial is 9x cubed. That's just one term, and that's a monomial. A binomial has two terms. So you could have x squared minus 14. That is a binomial. A trinomial has three terms. And you might have something like x squared plus 3x plus 2. That would be considered a trinomial. So more terms than that usually are just called polynomials. So 5x to the fifth plus 3x cubed plus 2x squared plus x plus 7. That would be just called a polynomial. So we use the term monomial a lot because we want to talk about one term. We use binomial a lot. That comes up 2 terms. Trinomial, 3 terms. When we go to factor, we're going to do a lot with trinomials. But they're all polynomials. So here's the definition of a polynomial. I know it's a little blurry. And the polynomial is in the variable x. They don't have to have it be an x, but this time it is. And it comes in the form where you have a coefficient, and then you have some term to some exponent. So maybe the highest exponent is 7. And then you have the next coefficient, and the next term, 1 less than 7, so x to the 6th. Now, if there isn't an x to the 6th term, you could put a 0 in. Okay. And then you just keep going down the line. You keep decreasing the exponent until you get to an exponent of 0 on the x, and that would just be the constant. Notice that the exponent here is 1, but we don't write it. Okay. And then those coefficients, so the a sub n minus 1, a sub n minus 2, a sub 1, and a sub 0, those are all real numbers, okay? And the first one can't have a coefficient of 0 because then it wouldn't be that polynomial, but it's got to have a first term. Okay. N is a non-negative integer. Okay, so we talked about that the exponents are going to be whole numbers. Okay. The polynomial is of degree n. It goes by this first term. We call that the leading term. Leading term. And that leading term has a leading coefficient. So let's say we have, let me make up a polynomial real quick. 8x cubed plus 3x squared minus 4x minus 10. Then it's in the right order. It's in standard form because it goes 3, 2, 1, and then there's the constant. The degree is going to be 3, so if they ask me the degree, it's 3. The leading term, sometimes they ask for that, the leading term, that would be 8x cubed. So that would be the whole term there. That would be the leading term. And then a lot of times I'll talk about the leading coefficient. So that's the coefficient, squeeze it in there, would be 8. Okay, so the first term, we do a lot with that. So we want to be able to identify the leading term, its degree, and its coefficient. Okay, and I think that's all we've got.